G'day. I'm coming to you live from my bed today because it is a dreary, rainy day outside here in Mayo Island, and I have the radiator on, but I've not lit the fire, and I am in a pantomime tonight. I'm about to go to Ballina this evening for the second weekend in the run of Snow White to the Core, Christmas panto locally written in Ballina and put on by the Ballina Dramatic Society. We had our opening weekend last weekend. We had Friday night, Saturday night, a matinee on Sunday and a Sunday night performance, and it was sold out and very well received. I play the Wicked Queen, so it's full circle for me. Talk about maiden mother crone. It's great fun getting to stretch my thespian wings once more, as it is. I used to tread the boards with Amdram, amateur repertory theatre, since I was a very young girl. And then in my mid-20s, I became afflicted with lipedema. So I put on a great deal of weight. No one knew what lipedema was in those days. It was just, geez, you're going to have to do something about that. And fat shamed me to buggery. So much so that I couldn't stand the sight of myself in the mirror, much less the thought of me being on stage in that sort of shape and form, because it was the 90s, which was the era of, like, Courtney Cox and Gwyneth Paltrow and Kate Moss and stick thin people, So I took up directing instead in amateur theatre, and then I didn't sort of get back into it until I did a one-act play. I was in a one-act play, and I directed a one-act play in my 30s. But then life took me away from it. I went into radio in my 40s, went into comedy in my 40s, and I've been in a couple of student films and things since then, because we're now very much a society run by video. So every man and his dog has access to a camera phone and has a YouTube account or a social media account or something. So video is the currency, is the media, I suppose, that most people relate to now. But I was looking for something to do with drama in Ballina on Facebook. And I'm not a Facebook goer, really, although I exist on Facebook, but I'm not into it. And I just saw the audition for the pantomime for the Ballina Dramatic Society, and I thought, well, why the fuck not? So since it's a panto, it might not matter that I have an Australian accent, because I could just do a silly English one or something, or I might just be in the chorus where I would only have to sing with a mob of other people, and no one would mind that I'm an Australian. Because, of course, I would have loved to have got into theatre in Ireland as soon as I set foot in the place, but as well as not having the opportunity because life was keeping me confined to quarters, as it were, for a bit. I'm so conscious of my Australian accent, and just about every rural theatre company, they're always doing Sean O'Casey or Martin McDonough or something, and so I would stick out like a sore thumb, and I am superfluous to their needs. But panto gave me, to my utter delight, fulfilled a lifelong wish to play the Wicked Queen in Snow White. So there you go. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? And since I believed from very, very young, as a toddler, since I was a toddler, that I was ugly, my acting was what inhibited, you might say, except if I was in a funny role or something. I now know that I was never actually ugly. The only thing ugly about me was the way I was treated by people who called me ugly and said that, I was fat and wouldn't amount to anything. That was indeed an ugly way to treat a fellow human being. There were, of course, always delightful people like my drama teacher, my English teacher, and things who wanted me to go far and said I could go far, and they were right. But however, it brings me back to an old joke. It goes, how many social workers does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but the light bulb has to really, really want to change. So once I started getting a bit of support from friends and family alike, I started getting a bit of self-belief. And there you go. Now I'm the Wicked Queen of Snow White and having a ball. I have to pinch myself, really. It's like I always wanted to live in Ireland, but I did not think I would end up here, and realistically. I sort of ended up here accident by design, or maybe you could say it's divine intervention. Who knows? I think there were definitely some plot points on my life plan that included Ireland, and so when I was a young woman in my 20s, which was the 90s again, back when I was like hugely, hugely afflicted with lipedema that destroyed any remnants of self-esteem I might have had and severely hampered my health physically, mentally, emotionally, and interaction with other people socially. I spent a lot of time sitting on the couch watching things like Father Ted and Ballykiss Angel and, the Roddy Doyle films, and reading them, of course, because there was a bit of a renaissance in the 90s of Irish film and art and things, what with Daniel Day-Lewis and, Stephen Frears, all that sort of thing. It was like had the heyday of the 90s with Commitments and things like that. So there was me in Donnybrook, Western Australia, a town that's actually named after a Dublin suburb, wishing that one day I could be like an Irish writer or comedian or actor in Ireland, but thinking I would never ever be able to because there I was, unable to get there from here. And here I am. And I have friends, and I am a comedian, and I'm headlining at Sligo Comedy Club next week, Wednesday the 13th of December. I will be at Micklin's Bar. And I'm loving the fact that it's Micklin's Bar, particularly because when 4.5 years ago, in February 2019, I went to a fabulous afternoon tea in Ballina by the river, down by the quays, and it was a fundraiser. It was a fundraiser for the local under-15s rugby club or something, but it was afternoon tea with Mrs. Doyle. Pauline McLean, who plays the iconic Mrs. Doyle on Father Ted, was there to call the bingo and mingle over salmon sandwiches and things as a little fundraiser for this rugby team. And I, of course, immediately bought tickets and took the ex-husband and my kiddo along for afternoon tea with Mrs. Doyle because I just could not believe the opportunity afforded me. Like, that depressed wannabe thespian and comedian sitting on her couch in Australia in 1996, actually able to meet Mrs. Doyle in real life in the west of Ireland. And I laugh because when I met Mrs. Doyle, my ex-husband bought me a teapot with a tea cosy on it that is being crocheted by Pauline McLean, because she, as Mrs. as her Mrs. Doyle character. She has a great side hustle. She crochets tea cozies. They're called go-ons because Mrs. Doyle's catchphrases are go on. Go on, go on, go on. Like, have another biscuit, have another sandwich. Ah, you will. Go on, go on, go on. And of course, the tea cozies go on the teapots. So she sells go ons. And my ex-husband bought me a go on tea cozy, and it's in mayo colours, green and red. And I sort of thought, this is the beginning. I feel this is a sign, a sign from up above, from Father Ted, that I can get into the comedy scene. And lo and behold, before you knew it, just after I met Mrs. Doyle, I started connecting with some of the cast in Hardy Bucks. Stephen Kelly, particularly, who is now terribly famous as part of Three Bucks Left and in his own right. Do go and check out the Dead Hedgehogs YouTube channel, because they podcast on there all the time, and they're around live as well. And then I was away. And then I had I came to a screeching halt with the pandemic. I had to start all over again, really, basically, after that. But now, although, Tommy Tiernan I am not. However, I am headlining in Sligo Comedy Club next week, and I'm performing as the Panto villain in Ballina this weekend. So I feel that I am quite happy in my amateur artistic adventures. Onward and upward, and hopefully I'll do more writing and way more gigs in 2024. God willing, God's willing, whoever's up there listening to me. And of course, I am very, very, very grateful to all 45,000 of my YouTube subscribers. May there be many more of you in 2024. I love every single one of you for the support. It makes me happy, filled with joy that people listen to me. All right, that's enough from me. You can find all my social media links and all the ways you can support me with like kind donations and tips and things to Patreon, that sort of thing, in the About page of this channel. I'll see you when you got nothing on.